engineering and engineers in general, but also to get rid of the stage fear. I mean, to get rid of the fear of performing in front of a live audience. So, people, what is engineering? Don't think too much into it because Rachna has not given me much time. So, engineering, as per me, is like a typical Indian version. I mean, typical Indian public toilet. Why I say this is because everybody who's out is desperate to get in, right? And everybody who's in is dying to get out. There are two happiest days in an engineer's life. The first one is, thank God, I got it. And the second one is, thank God, I got out of it. So, once there were three engineers going in a car, mechanical engineer, chemical engineer like me, and a computer engineer. So, suddenly the car stops. So, the chemical engineer says, the fuel must be contaminated, right? So, we should check and clean the fuel line. The mechanical engineer says, no. I think the piston must have seized. We should check the engine, right? The computer engineer is silent. Okay. So, after some prodding, he replies shyly, maybe if we could just get out of the car and get back in again, it will start the car. Right? And Kawal, jaldi rahe. Right? Restart now. So it's like this. Once an MBA graduate and an engineer were camping. So in the night they just set up their tent and then went for sleep. After some time, the engineer wakes up the MBA graduate and says, hey, what do you see? So the graduate says, I see millions of stars shining in the night. So the engineer says that, okay, and what do you get out of that? So he says that, astronomically speaking, I think there are millions of stars and billions of planets. Meteorologically speaking, I see that there will be a beautiful day tomorrow. So he asks the engineer, and what do you see? The engineer says, practically speaking, somebody stole our tent, my friend. So it's like this. Once there were three project managers from three different ENCs on a ship with their trainee engineers. So project managers, they are my favorite people. They are most amazing people, you know. I said, I'm just seeing what's in the script is for mine. So they are the most amazing people. So why I say this is because a project manager takes the logic of a woman delivering a baby in 9 months to conclude that a team of 9 women can deliver a baby in 1 month. Is it possible? They are the conductor of an orchestra in which every musician is playing different tunes. Okay? So coming back to the story, the three project managers were on a ship with their trainee engineers, and they got into an argument that whose trainee engineer has the most cuts. So first, the French project manager calls his engineer and says, hey, jump into the sea and give me a round of the ship. He complies. He comes back, he says, bravo. And then he turns to the other two and says, you see the cuts? And then the German project manager, he says to his engineer, jump into the sea and give me 2 rounds. So the engineer complies, okay, we have no option, right? So he says, see good. And turns to the other two and says, you see the cuts? Now the Indian project manager calls his trainee engineer and says, jump into the sea and give me 3 rounds of the ship. The engineer says, and why do you think I would do that? He turns to the other two and says, see the guts? So once our project manager was walking after lunch with a piping engineer and an instrumentation engineer. So suddenly they stumble upon a lamp, they rub it, a genie comes out, right? So he says, I will grant each one of you 1 wish. So first the piping engineer says that I'd like to go on a world tour with my wife for 30 days. Genie says, grant. Then the instrumentation engineer says, I would also like to go on a world tour with my wife for 30 days. He says, grant. Now he asks the project manager, right? What is your wish? He says, I want both of the idiots back by 2 p.m. We have lots of work to do. So
I would like to go on a vacation with my wife.
Yeah, the moral of the story is that never speak before your boss does. So, once a young engineer died, that's sad, right? But he died. He goes to heaven and meets Chitragupta. Professor Chitragupta is the Indian equivalent of Saint Peter, right?
Keeps records of whatever.
So he meets Chitragupta and he says, Chitragupta, this is so unfair. I'm only 35 years old. I just bought a new car. I have got a wife. I have got a beautiful family, and you called me up. This is not right. Give me the reason for it. So Chitragupta just goes to his stack of files and draws out his file, and then looks inside it and says, "Oh yes, my son, but according to the hours you booked in your timesheet, you are already 100 years old." Chitragupta is wept with this guy because he made him do so much work, and he sends him to hell. Right? After some time, Indradev calls Yamraj. Indradev is the god of heaven. Yamraj is the god of hell. So he rings up Yamraj and says, "Hey, Yam, bro, what's up? How's it going in hell there?" So Yam says, "Yeah, it's actually going on fine. The AC is working fine, the refrigerator is working fine, even the toilet flush is working fine." He says, "Oh, that's nice. How do you do that?" He says, "I got a new engineer guy in here. I really like him." The engineer who sent hell, right? So Indradev says, "How in the world is that possible? An engineer in hell? This is a blunder. Send him back to heaven." So Yamraj says that, no, I really like him. I am keeping him. No way I will send him back. So Indradev says, "Listen, Yam, if you do not send him back, I will sue you." To this, Yamraj laughs and says, "Well, of course you can do that, Indradev, but from where do you think you will get the lawyer to file a case on you?"
The lawyers are in hell.
And lastly, people, this one is original actually, all case mostly copy. I just thought about it yesterday, and I wish Dr. Sir was sitting here, that our life is also like a typical LSTK project. Why I say this? Because when we are born, we are like the basic engineering package. So new, so fresh, right? Some of the guys here are wondering that, okay, so heat and mass balance is the most important part of a baby. Now I understand why. Okay. So we are like baby, right? Young babies. So as we grow old, we get educated, we go to school, we go to college. That is the detailed engineering phase. The detailed engineering goes on. Then the detailed engineering is completed once we land a job. After we land a job, the construction phase starts, because we start to construct ourselves socially or economically or professionally. Right? The plant construction starts. Then the construction is complete and the plant is ready for commissioning once we find our life partner. Okay? The courtship period can be called as pre-commissioning. The commissioning date comes when we actually get married, because that day we get the feed in the form of our wives or husbands. Okay? 9 months into marriage, what is that? Of course, that is the PGTR, guys. Post-marriage testing. And after those 9 months, we finally get the finished product. Okay, so that was my performance. Thank you, everyone. Wish you